Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening, depending on where you are watching African Hour. My name is Fru Nkimbe, coming to you from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm the coordinator of African Hour. We are beginning 2026, coming to you with a lot of expectation. We will be launching a book about Mankon oral tradition written by one of the sons of Mankon, say Awasom. Let me introduce our panel. Out in Chicago, our leader, Pa Asongwe. Pa Asongwe, you are welcome to Mankon Think Tank. Down to Kansas City, we have Pa Awasom, who is the author of Mankon Oral Tradition. We will be discussing the importance of this book. Pa Awasom, welcome to Mankon Think Tank. We know very well that wise man once said that if you know your history, you will know where you are coming from and know where you are going to. And that those who write their history are best positioned to tell the story by their own experience, from their own eyes, from their ancestors, better than anyone else. You allow someone to write your story, that person may glorify his misdeed and not respect who you really are. Mankon Oral Tradition is one of the finest and well-written book about us Mankon people, and we will be talking more about this book written by the son of the land. In front of the book is His Royal Majesty for Angwafo the second. I would like to give the floor to our leader to welcome our audiences. Pass on way. Over to you.
Mankon babutin vita wugna nye ta wani la majiga bugna kwanan gam nu tsere tsigatna ba chusna ran chusna mankon da singa kondanga bugmusongo mankon ga zum ba bugna kwang kunga yin tumtala anu dumtamba funa wan zamba tanki banga aditna bobanda abonga babu tongna wan zanda bu kandonga mo mankon tumtum angem bangnu bon abu tong wan zan bu kanga wan zinga na wan zamba asana jila zignai wan ba wan zan gotum mankon gotum bang zinga suma songa bu kondanga bu misombo banga bene tidi tong wan zamba ganan sanjila mankon ne bi nan tong tizanai bu kanga anan wan zamba aditnga di amba bugna funu an dia be amba bugna ben bere so masonga mi aka wunga gumo kuma muta wani la ike nunu tsere ba funu ma wani tanga bugmu ke songa bugmu ton wani zentum la bugmu songa nu samba bugtong nji kinge mu futu tomorrow mbo bunga mi aka
tada songwe magami ya tanka magami ya mboke ne anu zala makasonga ngwana tsira atme che abienga wangoze ngwana tamu bemba bu ngwana ta betonga ngwana tamba makara ngwana ya bugna tonga terala ilani ngam kenwo mbuga wugna balanye zinga ngwana ze azenga wala ngwana jangamba bijwina ye mankun betabi bikuye mankun kuye mun fon adi amba be chinenge wara abi na banzaye bobo gene wara zai janga ba nuta ne bukan tikita wari ne zaran ba buga ba wara ma zai buga tinta zariye go be lan kimbe mu manko abongo otine azo ma na zinga munda tombo bon abin tong zariye go be tu tong o tara betar tara bonda ma langa be tong tinki futambo bunga so to tong no wene ma me tong ten waso ibida yinga ke ene tuombo meje ten waso ama ma amuku go manko mamba be zene wo nze ma ne ze be ze baga atnije go ma me so mbo wonga okay ene tuombo mezo ambo manko abo ngo ola ware amuku wo la
ngam ya wotan kimba ngam ya wotan sangwe kumgan anetse Awasom abe mu Awasom bo Awasom che man kongata Awasom si alam ba tinan ta ambanga ma chen kuyela te Awasom an loran abe ngama titna banje bishenge nto nda ku ifo no tsiga tin sama zona nda ku ifo bo no bemba mazane tinzu unwa bobo ma ti kuyen zanga nusa ta atana bayan ba bijin nusa biten ka waye ma yi America janga adi it's mo on ba ma tin wati bete me ba ma jin nusa ko kan gudan wan be ba ma son o jeng tan ta ke kan ka mun ce je ma o jeng na fo man kon na ci lana kan mun ce je de bitna why did you write this? Why ma son I wrote this book for those who carry the name of Mankon. I wrote the book especially for those of us who live in the diaspora and have children in the diaspora and who feel that culture is something to visit. It's not just something you visit, it's something that you own. You may know the food, the accents, the celebrations, and still feel unsure about the deeper questions. Where do our people come from? What is their belief system? And so on. So this book is a way to answer some of those questions. It's not just something for nostalgia. It is something which is like your inheritance. It is something for you to study freely and to carry forward the culture. The thing is distance. The distance that separates us from the hills of Cameroon or the hills of Mankon. It should not completely separate us from our culture because you can still have it here. Though you do not know the language, there are many things you don't know. You are still Mankon because you carry the blood of Mankon in your body. And if the pages of this book do help you understand that, then I have achieved my end. So that's why I wrote the book. Because I have children at home. The only thing they tell me is, abenabi abon, ogegebi abon, odiekebi abon. That's all they can say. And Nima faran na songa ndagunu ko bi na ngamala adi anake ananga famba na me gane yan sirum tin kwala biya gam na gamla abrun manka agane yi afa abob dum sum mitin gisote mon wala gam gamla na o ma bi ligna bo sum tan ngam so kare la ma ngwana zene bo be very happy because be ko tonga history wina bi na ben famba makare yen ko mo manko be se yen bona kon tin history wada ba tin sama wa right from ndame ma ze effect ngwana zena and the effect ba mo ka be ba ma so mo muti
wa mi ya tota songwe
te Awasom na ma piam to go bugna tangangam no nsambi muga nanga bujue yaunde manje wamba malok nga ayansi ko ayi matuna yi mfuwa nchuti ta na be takobun kaba matuna yi to mu fa ayansi ndangta nanga bakanti ma ga mutuna ba kan ngi tiamda ngamta na gamna manku nanga ganga de fo adi yaunde beta lomti ba na kum ojinga wara kazu o ngamnu yaunde ndu ngamnu manku kunzu o french kunzu ngamnu na kare tu son wa mo bite yi awara songo jeye la be ngamnu ba awara fom njis ta shi ngamai be mfutara bugu ta zon mu ga mu bangti bi chen forum ngamnu manko bite inga ha ta wo tinki ngamnu ndi bo di an kira songo zilang gotum mutum minga zumuga nga ye kornga ase ngamnu la mbozi so matonanga culture go try no tinga ala jienye bugna se bugna butum miyaka
tota songwe miyaka tanga Awasom gama nuza nga be magat me bitinga ngwana la e bombo gamna la le magama kanga mambo be magat no bamba betina bien asonga bienda kama songa be bamba betina ala amkariye be mamba betina bien che yaunde ti nkitin sanju manko magat ne tiwo baka bon bangama wa ngam na la ezong baku kunye be mamba betina bien bo mo onye afore nga be maba etiwa la baga atne maba kin chebie atuma chebe bo nga be maba be se wo kin ti maba be kwata kin zong kin ti nga somba ti na bien wenda ade abienzina benta ato ntoye okun ko ye di tesote ochukwu ebombe nigam na la ambobo angama ye I want for talk for pitch when me at the talk na say some people they will ask and say you write book but your pikin then day for day they fit talk Mankon but that's I'll talk say it be very very important question that but the most important thing for we all let's say if you know your history some people they way if you talk but you don't know anything about yourself but when you know your history that one really be very important now a foundation now a sign of dignity and pride so if you stand somewhere talk say Mankon people the commander for here now fun of Mankon than this now so Mankon fashion day so I think say now the most important thing that way it really day for this book my pikin they born my pikin then here they read this book I be surprised so that they ask me about Formukong that they asked me about Angwa 4 and stories and they hear about how we Mankon people they fight wars, say they be strong. So then say they ask and say, wow, so means they come up for kingdom where it be that very, very powerful. They no be know this one. So that one, this book, it make Mankon man, if he stand somewhere as German, American, if he talk, be proud so, it make me Mankon man. It will talk, it will quote places, quote fund them, quote places. Who's our Mankon? It don't day. So some important chapters then they here inside this book where I think say we'll bring her up, ask question. May you Tata Awasom, may you clarify. But one thing where me I want for ask you Tata Awasom, for write what will be the biggest difficulty to write a book like this one. And the way I like the book, the English be very, very simplified. How everybody feel read and understand.
The reason why I write the book, I say this story them way I talk. Now stories where we will be here and they be meant. Say make the stories they not die. It be sure say the stories where they tell we in stories where we give for tell them for other people. But how we don't come up for the hills and valleys of Mankon. We spread all around the world. The story don't become dwindle. When man want talk about some story, they talking about the British did fight such and such a war. Cameroon was given to do this and given to this, and the real story not to come out. I be one say the stories where they know they talk, the ones where they know they for our conquerors, their book, the ones where they will pass them on to us now by word of mouth, make them not die. Because by word of mouth, we know if you pass them anymore. Because we know that you don't for fireside anymore for talk story for picking.
So yeah, so me if you talk for you say, when me I read this book, I see and say, not really a product. Say, Papa, they will tell me this story for kind of a fireside. If you grow for village, you remember time where they harvest fresh corn, granite or so, when they sit down around fire, that they talk stories, then Papa, they narrate all this. Then it's saying we may will go for school. Time don't change. They know the children, they know the story tell to read that way. For me, this book, now a product of that book where Papa be saying we say me will go learn. Because if it's saying we say me will learn that book, so because we know say time that it change. So that me will begin the writer. Because book like this one, tomorrow, they hear as Papa their own time, they will talk story with the listener. You'll be one of them where you been there around, you work out with them. You don't talk, say you be the carry power, you back, you go for Quifo, you go for Palace, you go for every place. They tell you all this one, and then you see them. So I really want to thank you, say you take the time for write these stories there. So that are some way.
Thank you, man.
Otong na wa nzie ntong so tembi ine antambi sombo mengo anwa za bong so te otong antambi bong bi kimbi ezer ntong nzum wa nsenta to muumi mintara tara ambo bo makan zen kan songe and talk say as we pa as we talk say he read this book. It buy them, so he read them. The book interests you plenty because it gets some important information with dates where be first know. Then because if you like this book plenty, it's and say this book now a very good present where you figure for some person may know about Mankon. So far as a week, you buy 40 copies. That one a really big thing means Awasom will know the importance of this book. You read this book, why you buy that many? You don't buy one copy for yourself. Why you buy so many, send them for other people?
Well, thank you, Bang Magamia. Well, a question was beaten la. Naton one that go gun days material Zabong no go or tongue cause tongue that's go. Can them dog nunks a bocky go. I beg kan wo mo am ba je nu zamba sina man wan zak ke ban jiga ogam ko de tere bon tiwu o logo ngiap te bongwa aga zere masongo abong ama zungwan san sagan juo mbe ke ma zen kusere o songo bo buganga every Saturday ke Sunday o ton wan zene in ke na bo ben juo asongo bugna queen so songo nen ka ton wan ba bitienda bukum Babu da traditional council, but my watching the Bomocha, but Buton one. So bonga, my zone one, sene, in Japton Bobonga, Abo Tong, Pinjazamba, Babu Sanjila Mankum. I was very much a bobola. Makan come at Sagas and Boboye, my Sagambo Tabankaba, babatina ganan kusong bo monga abo zoom wan ten bukan zoom tantangi bo bukan tiwo bo so agagar masongo bonga oganze bonga di etere o yep the bonga
Tata Songwe Malami ya. I really thank you very much. You will really we hate where you teach now by example. And I really equally see I'm say no be only Mankon man if you buy this book. If you be Mankon man, this book it will be now a very good present where you will buy and give for your friend where no be Mankon person. Now the only way that very important way we will make a may we sell Mankon. And Tata Awasom, some name they inside this book. When me I be hear that name, a very very important name. And I know say many people they do they hear that name. I hear a math. I hear a math. This I hear a math. I see I really the way me I read about it now really a very very mysterious person where he get power. So you will tell we viewers and people where they listen who been be this man I hear Mafa for Mankon and what did this man been do where it make him it be like say this man be very very powerful. So
this man, say for Mankon people the day way they call him Atanga. Mankon people like titles a lot. Atanga means you are a trader. Atanga. Atanga nung be abatang na mata. Once atanga taba. Aveng wamba atang na mata. Anya ba. Labing at say. All right. So atanga wa chen kundumji. Ishange laba mwa manko ye. Aganangen. Once ke agubonye once ye. Mwat and zong you want them. Zong ko yin kumo mankum. Tenchen ju ore ye. Batinan ju ore la. Turn gan mankum ni kana. Bon ye. Bezumba agana ye lana. Abitan kango sim yaman kebe anu zagana wara be abe ngwiye kunji kuye mu mankondela benga bergichin nge mvunda boken ochin sila butin mvunda zo utong bem no kun ndam ngom tek ngom ntin ndeng zamba brenye koronda za uno yen koronda za within like 6 hours we met in that
azabako
so tin anzi why. So began Daza with the Mumbang as a songbongo. Oh, Bungangan po ambien to sing and move for you in the quiet because you are dancing too close to the fire. Or I'm not Mankumbika bay clean.
I remember back or Kagam.
Alam come wake up, come with your number, Bagam, no boy, but Mumbang was anger. I would be serious, and you see. Almache, we can give that. We're gonna mandala, Konga Kunzi, no you. So good no one away, because make it again, no accident, nothing will happen. Launch it in one. All right, beating this out with Tinamandala and Tengian, Bamo, young down with Zagantilla, but at the Yenze, Homeland, was there, Bamo Yenze was on a hand and train, and down workers and Bangam, and good and more. All right, then back in Gamandaware, Bamo, Babtin and Bienda, Yemulu. Look at the Ambangano, Luzon,
the beat,
Lumat in tea, wait, and no, Tangwet and Young. Second day, third day, no, the fourth day is coming, so the population was more in the house. I'm looking young guy, so betin bint and the rider, I am my first song, Bawa, a quinty barrier, Kika, Kabi stable, Kaka General Zame, so what is some Tanga Baranda and Barno, Bokan Kabon Gubnomu, as much as so we don't know, we are warning January, as I would know that can Bimdola, but it's some community, interpretation, don't go not and then tell you, Lington Gomna, you that fool don't born. I hear my fatim bay, where it get a popularity among con from that day.
And you that long that for
you that the thing has been done. We change our Laka Yamavachi. So Mankutin Zanga what be so popular. Jitila and the fourth day, be Funa Sote, Bamo Lola Matson, Bamo Lola Mbatu, Bamo Lund everywhere. But in Dan and
go to
and so Tangore, working with Numbazan, no, what's what engine don't know yet.
That's no quarter.
Right. What is in the chest? What is in the chest? And what is on terror? What is in yen kaban charge yen ngubore wore song biga di bilengo yen bi ene mambo yen ze wor kwar wor tin bi ruise nyomba atanga tem vuntang wor njuzi no wor tin che wo ezan ye ma fa yen ko mankon so
akwana tata
kum wada ta to no kum bar kum
kama je kum bi chen tong aye e ma fa ka ti asen kum wadang che bi jinga wor se mo mankon be anu zamba ma jinga wor se mo mankon be la mutuma ngambo wor asonga tenga wor che songa bijab abin warga Allah songa an tsate bambutum butuma an tsate bambutum billa kan ki ni an la yin jila songa bijab na nu zamba ngun tuma wa ba cinin je wore awa atana wore che songa bo kan ga lamba wi ben ba ce kan ka berendo no ko bren so berkashin to sombo mankon mbo to mankon ga ben ba lo wana sa anu ya ayan kombo ye mafano bege tonga ye mafa yin aye mafa tuma yin ki songo be manga bulon ko nge wa kasa kaka samki be bamba ti mon ntram ndibete berega no be wore songo nege won ka samki be nege won bamba bandon ko nge wa alamba we wore sombo nto man ko nge bitsaka be messenger ibe ba abo ko nge yin to zamba lon sanye alamba we la nge sombo bongo be bo to withdraw trade wan ba ti ne wore mbo alamba we la anye tanga be ti ne fan be tanga be ti yin be to withdraw abo expect angunu ga mbe ya ganta wa de wa na ko for ton ala da ben la mbu ofun bo jen ton la la mbu ofun wa ga lo nze ne burun bi chenye anyen senda ya ala sa be lam nan biza isor ngo bije ne bu nan tin nan sun ka wore ngim biza zienye akaba fo se be je wa ma kaba fo nye te bo mje ma kaba so bi se messenger nga ben ba bi yen konga na ane bu wa ka bi je ben bo wa ka bi ze nyen ngun se ye ngomna warte anto biza bu fuka ma bu anto do bu atin ga bilin so mun ngono ga ye ganta wala
ana wore
wa ajene ye berti en saka bem ga bi ngien to mon ko nge sombo bongo bo withdraw sa wa ka bo lamba tu wala lamba wi ka bo muke na bo muke wanan to ba ntuma and madam ye zama wa ne second number ye ma fa rin bon popularity ye be cement in Mankon.
Well, as you can see, these are snippets of story in this book, and you can only find this story in this book told live by Ngote Mumanko, who heard from his parents who lived through the event. So tata somewhere Otin and whatever a bit
na ma kan bitene no za trete waso bugna before se ma ton wa na zenda olon ju nga bugna lowa asani ma mbo bugna be abe east throughout and wa zamba wa la at my team ndenga mamze di amba wa nzang na nyum abe west mbekan bugna kalo east lange be west no west anya na gam man ko ase nzang na nyum be
abe nzang
nyum be ba nyum ko nan ko
after midday
ba ko nan zang na
so east west I think ubela abe ngke
bugna so de abugna lo na
bugna lo di wala going mostly to west
west
sometimes southwest
sometimes northwest sometimes southwest but abugna yan west bo langta adi amba abuchina tonga sa anyum de la sa anyum atila ma ramaton Bantu migration nzenga most of the Bantu migration abina be around Lake Victoria ba Lake Victoria be disaster fuwa ako on nchine nsenka misho ben bumu nuwa kabuna chishi ya wana the particular place because la bugna chi places deranga ati west of Lake Victoria. Bo ko tam west of Lake Victoria mu nyuma sala ozebe afobe munchia. So bugna de zone bugna lo sa nyum nambo kanga ishe dang se chi ige nyon ba nyuma sa na wa nyuma je fo munchin ko ye.
Maza bugna jita shi nan kan bamta zare but masu wanda bugna kage west la amma wa na zigna bugna jita to bugna ga west because that's another amba bugna yen kuma adi amba bugna sin someone la was all west and southwest. So masu nanga amu manko mo ke nanga nzangna nyum and west la which is correct.
So nyum.
Yes, and so nyum. So it's west. So amma wa na I was hoping to see that one time that word was going to come up, but it never came up.
Okay. Bokanga amo ganman kunyo mawa bere chengela nzenga nyongba ganga sala asat and zumboye aben bere wala away from where the sun rises.
Yes.
But bebo so anga bugna futa apart from bere lona bonko ku anye Mankon ba sin singala mo buna chiki bugna futa bokanga bere chenka anuma tishen wana ye anu za bugna chini bebe bugna chin log from language clues nigama nga fia nigama Mankon tanka tambe close to vocabulary ni Mankon tanka adi nga bugna bamba bugna bo ira bugna bo kuchi mon kwede te bong shemne ga bugna fom chala bon yenga an bo lamte Lake Victoria bo present day Mankon mo zenga ala zambala nanti vocabulary wa beto bugna even though bugna be thousands of miles away anala Wambo land and Wambo land ache northern Namibia nkaman ku ita southern Angola babi yenis injepta wa ngai lasansi ba bo jiti ngamna mo vocabulary wa unga ana akambete to bugna so malachi is coincidence be beke ngogo ntigende ilela alok ngam ngene nariye be bere songo mo be ambere songo you anyi Mankon akambe ngo ye be bere songo kwatalange abe bere songo please help or help needed anyi Mankon o songo kwataganle akambe descend ngam e bere tongo nyam which is meat bere tongo o nyama ka ngam tongo nyam da e bere tongo sheep abe ngam binziga ka bere tongo wa ngam bia bere tongo ta nziga ozo so bugna zanga be bugna go tracer ai patamba bugna logno bugna zanga bugna lumba shiabe south west ngo Wambo land and bugna jinga kuma wa dralo chimbi ntem kuma Wambo land e di amba bi ninte antinga nyam ifoku zumta atin foka di akibe land be abangna desert ba bugna chi ke be cho yinyumwa bela adinga bugna sa through Victoria forest ko into the grasslands of what is now present day Cameroon.
Magamba kibemte nuzamba osongnala marichi interview Honorable Mariam Swate ANC Senator bama zene ye a conference Johannesburg last April it was very similar nutiga atuto masuma no nyam abo ninki abenta to nigam la nki fi nigam na baboti na South Africa land anka
right abe bugna nyam te de tege bugna nyam te mo o de suza ga na lo ngam no ngenere
ambe nuza bugmange walgam na almost every month
look at Cameroon bugna be Cameroon tina ba 60 years magenjo my songo here fa boy ma ye fa be driver ma bus driver or lorry or no I become young driver I'm not saying kumbo bugna camion ko na mo bugna and that's it ades bugna o absorb na kan gan ga mo bo
magamba tata bugna nyenwa ezan uzamba makenin tongo anyen ma nze ama tongo chapter winya mazenga la nimbong dote ha bunga bugna ga mambu enwo wa nzi te nu zamba tina man wa nze banga ana tu zurina kanga bugna terrent so Mankon so bugna cheki edi edam gam tiga abonga bugna gama nu zamba tina aman wa na winya tanga be mamba be ju itmela it be important may we read some chapter inside this book because we talking about this book and saying that this book it will help we know who Mankon people be if you know be Mankon person and then if you be Mankon person Mankon pikin you will know who you be. If you stand for some place, you talk, you quote book where they write and say, if you doubt me, some book they go read them. So I get this chapter here, where make I really see and say, Mankon people, they be powerful, they be strategic in warfare. Where this chapter, na chapter number 6, where it talks a return to Mankon. I want to just read this chapter to show how the present place where palace day, then why it be make them from the information when me I read them for this book, why it be make them the true present place where palace day. And from this very book, I see am say the fundem, I fit see the fundem where they bury am for current place where palace day. This book it starts say Ifumju, Ifomukon built his palace Ifumju, which lacked any natural defenses. In contrast to other sites that might be secure because of forests that were very dense, which could slow down or obscure the movement of individuals and even large units like cavalry, a river or stream, which could form a natural checkpoint. The land of Ifumju was open. The kind of openness is akin to hanging a target on your back when your adversaries are mounted like the Bangtu. And the Bangtu, as you mentioned, were Bali people that they call them Bangtu because they were eating kola nut. Warriors who knew how to exploit terrain with the alacrity of a horse and the speed and range of a bow. Why is that important? By this time, the Bantu, whose land had been seized by the Fulani jihadis, had adopted the Fulani way of fighting. That was cavalry warfare of the best kind, hit and run attack, flanking the enemy from open sight, rapid, devastating raids that made full use of open space to build a momentum. A palace with no natural cover or barrier made Mankon Palace a sitting target. Why then should we just settle for this? But from a military point of view, it is hard to understand why a king would lead his people back to a spot that resembled being midway through the prairies during an era of horsemen. Courageous, yes, strategic, not quite. Infonzam, determined to secure a future free from fear for Mukong. Established a palace situated south of Ifunju and the north of Mezam. This move not only strengthened Mankon defense, but also attracted the attention of neighboring groups. Around this time, news of Mankon's formidable defense weapon gun spread across the region. This reputation of military strength encouraged more people to seek refuge within the expanding Mankon kingdom, bolstering its population and influence. Could you elaborate visionary tactics of Fomukong and also the courageous warriors of the Mankon people that attracted other neighboring villages to come to Mankon?
Yeah, okay. Like I was saying, there were these people, a group of people called Atang. There was an Atang whose route of trade was Calabar. Now he went to Calabar way before time and he came back with a gun. When he came back with that gun, he left it in the palace. He was the only one who knew how to operate it. Left that gun with the quiver and went back doing his trade. That was when the Bantus came and attacked Mankon. The old king, who was the father of Fomukong. He was over 90. This war has not been declared. You know, when you have to fight with somebody, you say, you and I will meet on such and such a hill on this day and fight it out. No, this war was not declared. By the time the king had the signal that there was a war, the Bantus were already in the country.
So a surprise attack.
Yeah. So the king had come out and jumped into the Mezam and crossed the Mezam. And when he went to the other side, he was too cold.
That other side is Bafut side.
Yes. Entered the northern side of the country and then ran to Bafut. He was too cold. They took him to Bafut, made fire, took him there and thinking that this should cure him. You know, those were their doctors in those days. But the cold has already dealt with him. He's an old man. So he died. He died in exile. So for Mukon standing there with his father, he knew the problem. And when Bafut tried to incorporate Mankon, the Ngaru was with people. Nobody knew how to operate it. They were waiting. And when Atanga came back, escaped to Bafut, he followed them to Bafut. And when they saw him, they said, oh yes, this is the time we have to leave Bafut because Bafut is trying to incorporate us. Bafut was not willing to let them go. They used that gun. Only one shot. That one shot sent a signal. And Bafut allowed them to cross over to Fumju. They crossed the Mili to Fumju. And they were trying to build a palace in Fumju because they were still scared of going across the river into Alanchi. Because that's where the Bantus came. They came from that side. They were saying, no, nobody can go to Alanchi because they have burnt out down all the houses there. They say, okay, now let's just sit at Fumju and make our palace there. But every day for Mukong is standing there and saying there are no natural defense for people coming on horses. There's no river. There's no forest. There is no hill where you can stand and see them coming. So he was really well. And finally, they went to Ifuzang, which is where the palace is now. And they saw that the hills surround that place. That place surrounded by hills. If you come from anywhere, they go into about three hills, they must see you. They must see wherever you're coming from. So they said, no, this is where our palace will be. And that's why the palace was situated where it is now. Tatabian is the tallest hill in Mankon.
Yep.
Eastern of Tatabian, you see everywhere. Tasanji, or the other side. That's why the palace was situated where it is. And now the other countries saw that. Because Bafut was a powerful country. Bafut had to have the elephant tusk. The thing was, if you live here, you must pay some kind of tax. Any animal that you catch in your zone, porcupine and elephants, you must bring the porcupine quills or the elephant tusk to their palace. If you don't do that, Bafut will come down and harass. So all the settler chiefs that were around Bafut went down to Beba, went down to even to Menchum, the lower Menchum area there, right down to Ndop. All of them, when they harvested or killed elephant, they will bring it. So Bafut was stockpiling the elephant tusks. And the elephant tusks were very expensive in those days. They're still expensive now. So they had a treasury of elephant tusks in the Bafut palace. That made Bafut really scary to annoy Bafut. So when Mankon produced that gun and frightened the Bafut, people said yes. And they were now coming into Mankon to settle.
Mankon has a magic gun.
Right.
So the father of Formukon was, we are talking about the one who died, was Ngwafo the first.
Yes. Ngwafo one.
Yes. Okay, so that also explains the military, the war tactics of Formukon, strategic intelligence of Formukon.
Yes. But the tactic he had, more than anything that he ever learned, was the fact that horses do not jump over trenches. A horse cannot jump over a trench. A horse cannot cross a river until you force it. And it's sure that it's not going to sink. He learned those. And when he came and people were coming in, he said, they had to build a trench around the settlement. That trench, which we call Akun.
Yeah, well, we have them. So in Tamben going towards Ngulong and those areas.
Right. Okay. That trench came like that. But then when other countries escaped and came into Mankon, and many renegade kings, because in those days, if you wanted somebody's land, you just go there and take it. If you were strong enough, most of them were trying to live under a king who was powerful enough that nobody can bother them. So when they showed up, the trench came from Tofi, came up to Ngulong, went to Ntambe and so on and so on. They said, no, the settlement is too small for the population that is in it. We have to expand the trench in order to absorb all the population. So they went maybe 4 miles away and they started at a 20. They dug a trench from a 20. That is still there now. If you look carefully, you see it. Right to Muwat.
That's the story. That's the information that you have in this book. You really have details of how Mankon, the strategy, the war strategy of Mankon kings, and it also have the various Mankon kings who ruled Mankon till present. I'm even very, very surprised, not really surprised because I already knew it, that you said that Formukon had 2 sons, and then one of his sons was in Kimben, that's my great-grandfather, and Fobuwe. How did he become an ambassador?
It was Nkimben who was an ambassador.
Yes. Yeah, in Kimben, not Fobuwe.
Yes. When he was born in the palace, I still go back to that gun that was used in Bafut. When he saw that the gun was used, Galabe, who was the founder, Bali Kumba, they called
Bali,
it
yes.
Kumba, he said Bali at the top of the hill. Okay, that's it. Now, he sent an emissary to Mankon. They came in a group with one girl who was his daughter. He instructed them to leave the girl in the palace in Mankon to be trained as a royal wife. That girl's name was Anzong. Anzong had Nkimben and also had Fobowe. When Nkimben was born, he was sent back to his grandfather.
Grandfather, yes.
The son of Balikumba, to be raised in the palace as a prince. That's why they call Nkimben Chita Nkimben.
Chita Nkimben, oh.
They call him Chita because the Kumba people call a prince Chita. So when Chita Nkimben came back to Mankon, he was well placed.
So he could speak Balikumba language very
fluently.
Good.
Something good for ambassadorship.
Yes, and that's why when Pavel was coming in 1901, they sent Nkimben to go and talk to Pavel. Because
so Pavel is the German who took over from Zingra. He came after Zingra. Let me put it that way.
He took over from Swagenberg. Okay. Yeah, he was the military leader. When he was coming, they said he spoke Mongaka, which is Bali language. But the Mankon people did not know that the mangaka was different from Mubako, which is spoken in Balikumba. So the same Chimba and Chimba could speak Mubako. So when Pavel started to talk to him, they discovered that they couldn't understand each other. And so Pavel pushed him aside and marched right into the palace.
All right, now that you're Teta somewhere, maybe you want a follow-up question.
Well, yes, I wanted to divert a little bit. Magama Bitanga, before Buguna Tongtang one, then I want to small corner for the song of Buguna for Antaranko. I did about performance you, Bugana Kirkanga, Baby German, Ma Canon wa, Tumungar Marty song. The farthest it can go is in Tarankun. We keep Congo, Abu Ma, the canon, but Abu Yin Kunta and Tau, Sankan Tau. So I go there, Bugna Funge, I'm from Joe, currently where we are. I bet so story one, Babugna Tongan you want, smaller Kabe, Kakune, when I want Babugna Tongan you want, those and a lot.
I'm about 10 Wumbachine, Ishinten Uzambo. Nsambi Makarwamba, Yen Kwa, Anto Mankon, Abe Zingra, Both Spagenberg, but Yen Quanto Mankon, a consider Damba, and Tots in this song.
Yes.
But it don't tell them, Futiba, Zingra Baton, Bon Bukumonton 1901, a consider Demawa, the Kabu Queptenento, the song Tankun, Tankun, baby, and Tozan Baby for Ye, one Baby, and a Trongomaga, I ain't see Wube Yens and you were.
So I like him to obey.
I like him to in the same girl for she will be.
Mazua. I change it more and Allah TV and Nigeria. Before continuing the tattoo master, Fungewa, tattoo Bure Shombo, Bugan Dreeted it was, Bure one Bugan Dreeted it was.
All right, Temu Manko. At the ancient at for I'm being maso. Beton the anto. La Ramos and that she won't sit and room be by Yamanda.
I did 14 one in Tono.
Right, the palace of Mankon, and the man Tarankuntina, and Samba, a Turetino, a detumba before yen, as you to work.
Okay, and she let them, Yaka.
Funzang.